Could they really fix that? That would be.
I don't know.
You want to start?
What would be the first step of fixing that? We deal with it.
We do.
Across
And then should I just have my presentation up? Or-
the complex, at least get 10. So I would see that side. I'm even happy.
Usually.
Still was a good, not spectacular.
Here, confirmation.
I'm sure that-
Pretty good weather.
I think that's actually, I shot a last half of the week and I think it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
So- Okay, cool, next week, and hopefully they'll look at it. So, yeah.
So I saw the bloodhounds are.
Oh my God, the bloodhounds are still, I keep missing them though, because they're sort of. Still getting used. Yeah, they're still puppies and every time. Really great question. So happy you asked.
I was laughing, I saw the video when they came and they were job over.
We were so happy.
You guys ran and grabbed it, like, no one can touch them,
No,
but all.
bye.
All over it.
Yeah, they're really cool. They're not stinky yet, the bloodhounds from their hounds get stinky. And they're not stinky.
The sea turtle thing for Friday is getting a lot of.
Is it good? Even my wife. So. Under turtles, so, yeah, probably, but.
Yeah.
You are a little, viral.
Yeah.
We have a picture going viral for you right now.
Oh, sweet.
380,000 views on TikTok.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Alyssa captured every single animal out and about on the back over there. So it just take off. So Mike did RSVP, but I haven't seen him yet. So we can, yeah, we can go ahead and get started with a couple of
Okay.
announcements.
All right, welcome, everybody. This is our first meeting of the year, right?
It is.
That sounds crazy, and I think I've already lost my pen. I've got mad skills. Anyway, welcome. Just a couple things for this year. You're gonna notice in this new fancy room, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're gonna notice in this new fancy room, we have microphones. And why it's important to use the microphones is so it gets on the recording. So if you're gonna speak, please press it so it's green. And then if you press it again, it turns orange, and then you can gossip with your neighbor, but don't do that. That's first of all. We're gonna do introductions in a minute. I'm also going to remind everybody, we do work under sort of the normal Robert's Rules of Order. So when we have a motion, someone will make a motion, I'll recognize motion in second, et cetera. So we'll try to be a little more formal with that. And lastly, since this is our first one of the year, let's go around and do some introductions. We'll start down at the end, we'll go around, and then we'll get everybody in the audience. So
All right, well.
well done.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chelsea De Silva, and I am the marketing assistant here at the Space Coast Office of Tourism.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Giantonio. I'm the Deputy Director of Tourism.
Eileen Bentley, Marketing Manager for West Coast Netting, which is a custom net manufacturer here in Brevard County.
Keith Winston, Brevard Zoo.
Charity Stewart, the marketing director for the Space Coast Office of Tourism.
Howard Schwartz. I work over at Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. I head up our marketing, sales, and education.
Hi, everyone. Courtney CEO, Director of Brand Management and Business Strategy at Utah, which also has the Space Coast Complex here.
Hello, Heather Lewis, Marketing Director for Ron John Surf Shop.
We have a high-powered crew here. And in the audience, let's go around and introduce yourself.
Hey, Berman, order today.
Employee elected Ambar.
Rebecca Essick with Ambar.
Briggs and DAV.
Angela Effing with Space Coast Office of Tourism.
And for those of you who are new, Ambar is our marketing partner. What do we call them officially?
They are our agency of record. They are like my third arm.
Just so you know, who's in the audience. Great. All right, I'm looking for approval of the agenda. for a motion?
We'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Heather Lewis makes a motion.
I will second the motion.
Okay, and Howard seconds. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Thank you. Passes unanimously. Any conflicts of interest with the business that's coming before this committee today? Okay, next, I'm looking for a motion to approve the marketing committee meetings from September. Very few of you could make this motion, but.
I'll make that motion.
Heather Lewis makes the motion. Howard seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, election of a vice chair. So the chair is appointed, I forget even who appoints me, the chair of the TDC appoints me. Is that who appoints me anyway? But then we get to pick a vice chair. Who is the lucky victim today? I'm gonna look at either Heather or Howard because you've been here before.
Well, Mike's not here, so isn't that how you?
Oh. So you want to nominate Mike? We have a nomination for Mike McBride as vice chair. Do we have a second?
I will second that nomination.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. How you doing, man? You're now the vice chair. Be careful, if anything bad happens to me, we're. There you go. Tom, I salute everybody's efficiency.
Thanks for your service.
Okay, now I'm gonna turn it over to Charity. I can turn my mic.
Hello, everybody, and thank you again for agreeing to serve on the marketing committee. I think you will find we have a lot of fun. We work really hard, and I think this year and next year that you guys are going to help us plan are going to be excellent. So the goals for today, I'd like to bring the new folks up to speed on everything that is currently going on to give you a nice foundation as we start to discuss summer and into next year's planning. In the folder in front of you is the 22-23 marketing budget and plan that this committee put together. It's for your reference so that as we go into future meetings and we start talking about 23-24, you can have on hand what we're currently doing. Please feel free to review that, and if at any time you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to go over it in detail with you. You'll also see the infographic from the year in review from the office that we've been handing out. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. And then the newest issue of the vacation planner is also in there for you. So that is the material that's in the folder. The presentation we're going to go through today, I know it looks like I promise it will not be long, but I'll get everybody on the same page. So Chelsea, if you don't mind, if you'll pull that up for me.
Just a comment for the new folks, for those who don't, wow, we still print the vacation planner. It still proves to be exceptionally useful. So we've had that discussion before, just so you know.
But it is very popular. So, okay. So first I want to just remind everybody, so the roles of the marketing committee, we work as advisors for the tourism development office, that's us, and ultimately make recommendations up to the TDC. In the case of our budget, that will eventually go to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. So that's one of our main goals. I look to you as industry experts to really assist us in identifying trends. All of you are talking to visitors and locals both that I am not necessarily able to engage with on the day-to-day. And so as we talk about challenges, concerns, things that we might not be thinking about yet, I look to you guys to bring those perspectives to the conversation. That leads into that feedback and idea generation for future plans. So as we start to work on the budget, you'll see that some of the planning includes long-term planning. What do we want the long-term destination plans to look like, and how can we affect those every year as we go into those plans? So let's get started with just today's. These are broken up into segments. So at the end of each section, I'll just stop, give everybody an opportunity for questions or comments or any conversation. So the first thing I want to mention is over the last 3.5 years, we have been conducting brand research with a firm down in St. Germain. We use this information to give us a base idea of how people recognize and identify with us, and use that to continue to measure marketing effectiveness. So we have seen that people really know where the Space Coast is, who the Space Coast is, and within the Space Coast, we have some brands that really do stand out that people are identifying: Cocoa Beach, Melbourne and the beaches, and Port Canaveral. So as we go through the presentation, I have the most current wave 4, to share with you, so you can see where we're currently sitting. What we learned as we were doing these surveys and doing extensive research and talking with our consumers is that we have the strength of those brand names that I just mentioned and the strength of the Space Coast. We know, especially when it comes to media and as it relates to launches, we get referred to consistently and repeatedly internationally as the Space Coast. People don't really know Brevard County. That's just not something they know who or what that is. And so years ago, when we started our current campaigns, we took the approach that let's leverage the strength of both the municipalities and the Space Coast, and created these logo sets where it's the city on the Space Coast. And we've actually been able to expand beyond cities in some applications as well. So you'll see that on some of the ad creatives as we go through. So our current paid creative placements really fall under multiple categories. So we're looking at both high top funnel as well as low bottom funnel, everything from out of home through video and audio, digital lead generation campaigns, and also our online travel agencies like Expedia and Vrbo. We're really trying to hit people wherever they might be within their journey to either inspire them to consider investigating the Space Coast. If they know about us, maybe to convince us to choose us over somebody else, or if they're thinking about somebody else, putting an alternative in front of them that they might want to decide on. And we work really hard to track all of these different metrics to understand the success of those advertising outlets, the creative that we're putting there, and really tweaking those campaigns as we go. So the current campaign for the spring, we're really looking here again to increase destination demand, influence overnight stay from our key markets. For those who are new, our key markets, we are very heavily a Florida drive market. So you'll see that we promote a lot within the state of Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, obviously the Orlando market as well. So we do have paid placements throughout the state. We also have what we call our fly drive markets. So those are Atlanta and Charlotte primarily. They have those direct flights right into MLB. They are all also close enough that it's an easy drive. We have major markets that we reach out to as well that continue to show in our destination research as places where people come here from: Boston, DC, Philadelphia, New York, and Chicago. And then this year, we've also turned our international marketing campaigns back on, both in the UK and in Canada. So when I say our key markets, that is where we are currently looking at. I think one of the questions that will come up as we move forward are there other markets that we should start thinking about for the future? So that's one of those questions that as we start getting into planning, if you have insight to bring with you to the table. We are a very family-friendly destination, but we do also see that we attract adults who are households without children on both ends, both the younger millennials and also the older generation whose children are maybe in college already. So we advertise to both, and then cruise intenders. We do know that cruising continues to be, especially now that the port was just recognized as the busiest port, continues to be a huge driver of traffic for us. So we are always looking for ways to put messages about extending their stay, either pre or post cruise. Can you click it for me? Or am I frozen? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start by just showing you what some of the creative looks like. We have new billboards that are going up. We have a couple of our welcome boards that are currently not accessible due to the Brightline construction. So this board is not up yet. but we are working on it. These are some of the boards in Miami. They're really eye striking. These are lit. So at night, it's really neat to see some of the rockets light up and the information around Visit Space Coast lights up. Again, really leaning on that message about being the only beach that doubles as a launch pad. Obviously, Cocoa Beach known for the surfing. Melbourne for our turtles. Titusville for the space complex, as well as the being, one of the closest spots to see the launches. And then Palm Bay for that natural fishing gem that is down there. So we also use video. Our video is traditional 30-second commercials that we run both on linear cable as well as through streaming. We also have short form videos, 6, 10, and 15 seconds that we run also through pre-roll and some of our streaming as well as social. So again, really fitting into kind of all of the formats of video. This is our current 30-second spot. I'm going to show it for the new folks that are here. I think it's important to see because at the end of the presentation, we're going to talk about our new storyboard, which I'm really excited to
The
show
best
you.
of both worlds looks a little like this. Here, a morning of sunbathing transforms into an afternoon of flying. And a peaceful day spent kayaking is really an adventure exploring nature's theme park. Look at this! Could be anything from a cannonball in the pool to a rocket in the sky. So, what are you waiting for? Discovery awaits on the only beach that doubles as a launch pad. Florida's Space Coast, only here.
That's our current spot for you. We supplement with audio. We do place this audio both in iHeart stations throughout the country, but we've also started using things like streaming audio for folks who are using different types of audio programs. So I'll play one of the commercials for you just so you can hear what it sounds like.
How's the view from your desk or the gym or your car? Wherever you're listening from, you're probably thinking about where you could be. So tap to add a station that takes you there. And while we can't teleport you to a warm, sandy beach to watch a once-in-a-lifetime rocket launch, we can invite you to join the party on Space Coast Grooves. Transport yourself to Florida's Space Coast and launch the station now.
So we have a Space Coast branded station on Pandora. We've had it for about a year and a half, give or take. We've updated the music on it a couple of times, but it did win some advertising awards this last year. And it's had about 1.2 million total spins and an average time listen of 35 minutes. So for all of us who are in marketing, the idea of 35 minutes of people who are spending with your brand is just a great time to have somebody's attention. So I think it's every 3 spins, they get a Space Coast ad, and then the digital ads that drive traffic to the website and to the station. So just a really cool, fun opportunity to have a branded music opportunity.
That's the only informative content on that. It's our ad.
Yes. So part of our metrics for goals includes generating new leads. Again, one of those long-term challenges that we all know we're going to face is on consumer data, consumer tracking. Email addresses continue to be one of the most valuable things that you can receive from a customer. We don't sell hotel stays here. We don't sell attraction tickets here. So for me, getting consumer data really relies on things like our email signups and our vacation planner requests. And so we do build some lead generation ads in order to gain those high quality leads that we can then use to target in the future. We put them through social. We also run them through Google. We have them in print through placements like the Visit Florida statewide vacation planner, where people can sign up to receive more information. So we're always looking at different ways we can capture that first party data that we can then use to tell our story back to. So digital is probably one of the largest elements of our campaign. We have multiple different types of digital platforms on our schedule. Again, that goal is to really be able to drill down and target those people that we know are looking for vacations, they're interested in cruising, they've traveled here before and haven't traveled here recently. They are loyalty members to our particular airline or hotel. All of these different key demographics that we can really dial in on. Digital is excellent for that. And we can really follow their traffic from exposure all the way through to booking with some of the platforms that we utilize for tracking. So the digital ads are just a few components that I'm going to show you. As you guys all know, digital ads, when you're putting them out on the website, they come in dozens of different formats and sizes and file types, and that would just be very boring to look at. So we're just going to give you a very quick overview. So we have a separate cruise ad running in addition to our leisure campaign. Again, for those of you who are returners, you have seen these, but the idea was Port Canaveral and the surrounding Space Coast area really is a destination all on its own before you get on the cruise or after you get on the cruise. We are not the ports that are very industrialized, where there's nothing else to see or do. And it's really very easy to get around here if you're coming here for a cruise. And so we took that idea and we applied it quite literally by taking the gangplank all through the Space Coast and showing just how easy it is to step off the ship and have an additional vacation. So we did a couple of attractions and then a couple of the nature areas. The conversations on social around these ads are really fun to see. So, you know, they stop the scroll, they grab your attention, they make people ask questions. We've had a lot of really good engagement with them. So it's just a really neat campaign and one from a cruise standpoint that we hadn't seen before. And then we also have some animated ads running as part of our cruise campaign. So for those who are new, this current campaign that's running, the idea on the Space Coast is if you took all of the Florida beach advertising and laid them out side by side, how would you know which one was ours if you took the name off of it? And you really wouldn't. So what is it that makes us different, right? And that is that we are truly the only beach that doubles as a launch pad. And so we took that plus space and attached it in a lot of our ads. So that's why in the animation you see a Space Coast image, something you can do here, and the space image, you know, as a juxtaposition. So we've had a lot of fun evolving these over the years. And again, they're really eye-catching. They really make people stop and go, what am I looking at? You know, why are they talking about space in these ads? There we go. The phone bay one?
Just the one with the supernova.
Yeah. And then we also have them in static form that we can use on places like social media. These are some carousel ads where we can tell more of that story. We've taken some of them and also made some single image ads. So you have like the kayakers, again with the rocket launch behind them, walking on the beach. You know, this scene here on the bottom will be the beach, hopefully in about 15 minutes when the next rocket launch goes up, where you can be out there enjoying your regular day and, you know, up goes the launch. So that brings everybody kind of up to speed on the creative direction that we have been in over the last little bit. Does anybody have any questions on that before I talk about kind of the results? No? Okay. So I mentioned the brand awareness research that we've done. So wave 4 came in here just at the end of this last year. It is showing continued overall awareness in all of those associated names that I showed you at the beginning. So Space Coast as high as 70 or 71%, depending on which market you were talking with, and all municipalities are showing the increases as well. So that idea of leveraging the awareness of both and putting them out together does seem to at this point be resonating with the audience that we are marketing in front of. We're also seeing that increase in both awareness of advertising, so people saying they've seen our ads, but also, and maybe more importantly, those who've been influenced by it and ultimately made a booking because of it. So when we started our brand awareness research, we were about 12% who said that they made a booking because of our advertising. This last round, it was up to 23%. So a lot of growth in the last 3 years. Lots of opportunity, but a lot of growth. Again, the increase in naming Space Coast as a vacation destination as an unaided recall. So, we didn't give you names to choose from is also increasing. So that is great to see just from a brand awareness standpoint. And then this is really no surprise to anybody, but our top activities, beaches and water, nature really continue to be some of the top things that people know us for. The other thing is that show up on here is that Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral, 29% say they came to watch a rocket launch. And when we look at our search traffic and referral traffic to the website, this reinforces the space interest that people really do have in this area. So we do occasionally get that question about, how many people are really coming, as for a rocket launch, and the answer is, at least 30% self-identify that that's what they're here for. So, we know that has a huge contribution to visitation in the area. The beaches and the clear water continue to be top rated, the natural beauty and the clean area, as well as the outdoor activities. Cultural activities do also rate pretty high. People still view us as family friendly and close to the Orlando theme parks. And then where people see us. So we asked the questions about where did you see our advertising, and also where did you first learn about us? Social media, our social media, Visit Florida, online travel reviews, streaming video are really still leading the way and how people say or where people say they're seeing us. Google, cable, other types of social media. So for example, content creators that we pull in, and then visitor guides, to the point earlier, also are places people are still seeing us. Friends and family, online travel reviews are, where people first hear about us. So referrals from those who we trust are really important. So weird little. It's the peanut just There you go. There's some additional just supporting data. So if you get our Friday newsletters, you will see this information. Generally speaking, Pierre will do every month when we get our tourist development tax numbers in, he'll do a story. This fall has been really strong, but I do want to share, you guys will get a sneak preview. We just got our January numbers yesterday. January TDT was an unprecedented 2.34 million, beating the best 2 Januaries previously, which was 1.86 and 1.52 million. That's 26% ahead of previous January, and it takes us to 22 straight months of best month for that month. So, the destination continues to be really strong this fall. Our Adara, which is our tracking software, that really helps us to identify if somebody was exposed to our ad and then ultimately booked within the destination, shows that our advertising is generating approximately a 39-to-1 return on investment. That ranges depending on the market that you come from. This will be something else that you'll see we'll talk about in the marketing planning is the value of those that are really close to us in the markets versus the markets further away from us. So we spent 3.24 million in media and generated 126 million in traffic booking. And thank you. And then STR, which is the reports we get from Smith Travel research that show occupancy, average daily rate, and revenue per available room, is showing that we had an all-time high of average daily rate in our lodging at $136 and that RevPAR is up significantly as well. And then that second bullet point on the slides shows that our room night demand, so the number of rooms rented in our market, saw a big increase from 2019 and 2021 to this last year at 2.68 million rooms. So that's a 15% increase. And across the bottom, you'll see some of our comp set, and we're definitely showing that our market is leading the way in room night demand for the area.
Sharon, before we move to the next section.
Yeah.
Any weaknesses across, when you look at these results, are so strong, right? Any weaknesses you see across the market, any indicators, anything that makes you nervous or think about things?
So this is a question that Peter and I talk about probably once a week. We probably talk to the agency about it once a week as well. We look at a lot of different research points. We talk to our own consumers, visit Florida, our peer sets, some of the leading travel researchers, travel sentiment survey providers. And right now, everything feels very strong that people still want to keep traveling, and that they're not currently concerned about the economy as it relates to their ability to take a vacation. Now, we all know it doesn't take much to change that. And we are cautiously optimistic, and we continue to, take that very seriously, that question. But everybody that we can talk to and the resources we can look at suggest that the spring and summer should continue to be strong for us.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Peter. I don't know, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm late. Apologies, and I apologize I couldn't be there in person. I just wanted to comment on Keith's question because I'm probably the worrywart of the group. My original feeling was that spring was going to be a good season, was going to be a strong season. I still, I think the question mark will be summer. Charity shared with you, probably a little bit about what we're doing for summer, and it's going to be the largest campaign we've ever had for summer. So, I'm confident that the marketing piece will be good, but again, it doesn't take much, as Charity said, to turn the consumer south, if you will, in terms of their mindset. So, as long as gas prices hold, as long as the economy holds at the current levels, I think we're going to have a pretty good summer, but there's always that risk, that could change. And then as we go into, as the committee helps us think through our strategy and our planning for the 23-24 fiscal year, I certainly have, some concerns looking out further. Every time we have a best month for that month, my mindset always goes to the fact that, hey, nothing goes up forever. And, things are cyclical. So, we just have to prepare ourselves for, I think, increased competition in the marketplace, a lot of other destinations getting into the game now, and then just keeping the pressure on so that when things do turn downward, as they will at some point, we're still well positioned. So that's just my concerns. I just thought, share those.
I'm sorry, who's Mr. Wet Blanket?
Somebody's got to be the realist and confidence, right? Yeah.
I think the wet blanket is the Texas.
There we go. Okay. So for the returning members in the room, last fall, we started to talk about how do we combat ad fatigue, supplement some of the best performing creative that we have running, and really start to evolve that plus space concept into, its next iteration, if you will. And the committee came to the discussion that what we really wanted to pursue is this idea of the excitement of counting down. As humans, we're always counting down, right? We're counting down to Fridays, we're counting down to birthdays, we're counting down to holidays. And we count down to vacation. In fact, we get apps for our phones so that our home screens show that countdown to our vacation, right? And who else better to play on a countdown concept than the home of space travel, right? And the Countdown County. So we've taken that, that idea, we've presented it with the agency, we worked through some drafts, and what I want to show you today are the digital ad concepts for you, and then also the TV storyboard. One of the things that we wanted to continue to highlight was the municipalities on the Space Coast and those things that really make us different, right? That make us unique. So turtle season and bioluminescence and being able to get out and surf. And so you'll see those things displayed in these graphics. These are animated, so they are slightly blurry on the screen because they are not their final crisp renditions. So just know when you see this, that everything will look crisp and beautiful. And the landing pages for these ads will play on some of this information. You know, we get a lot of these questions about when is bioluminescence season, when is turtle season, and so the landing page will have that type of information on it, so the visitor, you know, can get educated on what that is, and of course, rocket launches, because you know, counting down to rocket launches. So this first one is the countdown to your best vacation at Cocoa Beach on the Space Coast. So again, you've got that surfer who's riding the wave, you know, on a beautiful sun rise morning. Sunrise is over the Atlantic. Melbourne with the turtles swimming. Palm Bay out there to get that big trophy catch on the boat. This one, you know, I might take my Dramamine before I get on the boat. And then the bioluminescence, you know, kayaking out in the north end of the county. Yeah, like them?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, very cool. Thank you.
Stand up.
Nice soul.
Yeah. So taking that and applying it to television, we really, we had this idea that we wanted to count down, right, to that best vacation ever, which is here. And as I go through these slides, I would like you guys to think about what type of voice do you hear counting down? Is it the old NASA countdown with the guy and the slightly crackle, you know, and that very nostalgic to the rocket launches, the historic rocket launches? Or is it that child's voice who's getting really excited about their vacation? So just keep that in mind as we go through the slides. You will hear in the spot itself some ambient noise of what's being shown on the screen. So water, birds, waves, rocket launches, etc. So we'll start like this. 10. And it'll be dad learning how to hang 10 on a surfboard. 9. The family out on the back 9 of the mini golf of course. 8. They ate too much, maybe at a 4th Street filling station on some of their gigantic shakes. 7. Fishing out on the 17. 6. Watch your 6. This one in the video, you'd actually see her turn around. Dolphins will be behind her. 5. The high 5 beneath the 7.5 engine. 4. 4 eyes. 3. 3 is not a crowd. 2. 2 peas in pot. 1 unforgettable vacation. And then you'll hear countdown to your best vacation. Florida's Space Coast.
So that's 30 seconds.
30 seconds. It'll be a fast 30 seconds.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. So in answer to your question, why couldn't you do all of it? Why couldn't you start with the traditional master track voice for like the first 3 seconds? And then switch over to maybe a mother's voice and then finally a child's voice. One.
That's an
That
interesting
way-
idea. We
That
haven't
way
considered.
it hooks you with the whole traditional, and it tells the viewer right away that this is a play off of, you know, a massive countdown. If you didn't know. And then it kind of gets, has a little bit of fun with it, and hopefully resonates with different folks.
I am concerned that 4 eyes is going to be perceived as people insulting the people wearing glasses these days.
Completely concur.
Let's see, I use that as a way to eat out the thin skin.
There you go. Well, we want the thin skin to come to.
Okay.
So I think the envision, I hear you, was the goggles on them, yeah. But we'll take that concern, back to the agency.
Switch it to binoculars or something, or something else that would really cost.
I think the phrase 4 eyes
Just all of it, yeah.
Well,
these
you know,
days.
if you have the perspective of feet from 2 people laying down, you can kind of take a couple's perspective on the beach, you know, with the 4 feet there.
Or you could play off the word for like for your family.
Yeah, they did that once, and I almost I rolled.
Well, the other question-
I forget which one, it was 8. It was 8.
well,
It's supposed to be funny.
the other 4 is if we have a gently golf.
Ooh. So you already had a golf one, yeah.
Well, we can take this
You can
feedback
play.
and play with, yeah, it's,
I just think can't be too careful about that. So,
I understand that, absolutely. Any other thoughts? Did we miss any elements of the destination or the family vacation that, should be in there? Well, obviously, like I mentioned, you guys know where to find me, so if you take it and think about it, you've got other thoughts, or you have a great number pun that comes to mind, please, send it my way. So this is just, all the slides in one spot for you. And that is all I had for everybody today.
So, just a comment, one of the things I always say, Terry and Peter, is obviously we want to use your time well. Which is a great refresher for us today. And we actually had a few useful comments, so thank you for those. But we do really want to encourage discussion. And so I'm asking all of you if there are topics that you think really are worthy of input as representing the community. Now that you've been put up, you have a little idea of the sophistication of the marketing efforts. I would encourage you to send them to Peter or to Terry. You can't send them to me. We're both on the same committee, so it has to go to staff as something that is worthy of discussion in the future. And that's where we want to weigh in. We want to use people's time efficiently, and but also, you know, in terms of discussion. That's why we're here. And so, yeah, and so anyway, with that in mind, any comments from new folks or veterans? Yes, Chair recognizes Mike McBride.
I just wanted some insight, Steve, on the, there was an email or something I saw the other day that was some kind of EDC/TDC branding workshop, which, you know, I didn't know where that came from. If it was something that came from the EDC and you guys jumped in there to kind of coach or what, but it concerned me a little bit.
Peter, are you still on the call? Do you want to talk to that, or would you like me to?
Yeah, he was a little muffled. I think the question was about the EDC and the TDC working together on a project. Is that the question? Yeah, so
The nature of that
I'll just
effort
give you,
of-
right, sure. So I'll give you a quick background and tell you where we are with that. The EDC approached us oh gosh, probably pretty close to a year ago, maybe not quite a year ago, but somewhere in that time period, some point last year, and they had an interest in trying to do some kind of community branding initiative. The goal from their side is clearly is workforce related. There are a lot of players at the table right now that are having difficulty, including in our industry, but even more so in the tech industry and the aerospace industries, bringing people into the market to fill positions. And there was a feeling that if we could brand Brevard County in a very cool way, maybe that would have more appeal to people that, might be, have similar positions in other markets. So, I had been I've been aware, let's say, having been in Orlando for many years, that Orlando went through a very similar process a number of years ago. And it never really got off the ground very well because primarily the EDC in Orlando had not involved the tourism people, and there wasn't a lot of sort of interagency engagement. And so what I said to Linda was, if we're going to do this, then we need to do it together, and we need to be partners at the table, because without really, we're the entity in the market that has the marketing dollars to kind of put the brand out there. And if we're not aligned, the message that we could be putting out there might not be complementary to what you're doing, or vice versa. So my feeling was very strongly that we needed to be partners in it, because if we're not, then it's not going to work for either of us. And it's very possible that whatever they could potentially come up with on their own could also conflict with the messaging that we're putting out there. So we don't obviously want that. So that was the thought process. The initial steps that we identified were really just trying to get an understanding from people from within the market, people who work here, live here, the business community, the political community. What do they think Brevard County should be? Are we Space Coast? Are we something else? All of that. And so the first phase of the project, which just finished up in January, was to really go out and do a lot of focus groups, a lot of meetings, a lot of kind of group sessions where people had a chance to kind of weigh in on that topic and give us some sense of where they felt we should be as a community. And no surprise, Space Coast did pop up as something very highly thought of, and that does seem to gain, at least internally within the county, some traction, and that should be sort of the leader of the brand, if you will. There was a lot of other discussions, and I can send out some summary reports that have been done on what aspects of the destination are of interest to people, and what people really think of. But there was a lot of alignment with what we've seen in our own branding studies, that launches and space and beaches and nature, those all not only resonate with tourists, but they highly resonate with people who live here. The next step, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, and work here.
Right, correct.
Very advantageous to a workforce perspective. I read what I read and figured that it was being led by, folks that really don't understand brand equity. What's been built up over the years, and just what makes sense. There's no one thing that's going to be perfect for all people, but from a workforce and tourism standpoint, we're lucky to have something so obvious.
Yeah, well, I think what's going to be interesting is the next phase of this process is to now go out and do focus groups and surveying of people outside the community who are, fit our target audience, if you will, of people that we want to come and relocate here for work, and see what they think of us. Because I think the reality is that there's not going to be the name brand awareness of Space Coast, of who we are, where we are, and what we stand for. And I think we'll learn all that in this process. And then, once we have that understanding of where are we lacking from a worker perspective in terms of knowledge and awareness, then we can start developing communications that would potentially address those things and try to build some awareness and build some knowledge and be very targeted towards that, that group as the hiring companies are out there, recruiting and out there in the market trying to talk about how great a place it is to come and work. They can talk about their individual properties, but they can also then, we can give them some ammunition and some materials, marketing materials, communications materials, so they can then, truly go after that audience and talk about our destination and what a great place this is to live, work, and play. And we're very engaged. Like I said, we're partners at the table. The idea, of a community brand being developed without us there just didn't make sense, as you said, Mike. So yeah, I think the idea is, we're actually going to use our agency. So Ann Barr is going to be the agency for this project, and we're kind of co-project managers with the folks at the EDC working together on it. So, the idea is to try to develop something that's complementary to everything that we're doing from a tourism point of view, but it's a little different because it's not tourism. It's really more about worker attraction and trying to, grow our worker base, which frankly, you think about what's happening in the workplace right now across the United States, everybody is feeling the pain because, you've got the boomers and the high end of the market, the older side of the market retiring early. A lot of people went out of the marketplace during COVID and have not returned. And then you have younger workers who, their values are different, than maybe a couple of generations ago, and they're looking for different things. And so we've got to find a way to appeal to that. And if we don't address those issues today, we're going to be in a world of hurt in 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So this is a long-term, issue that I think, will take many years to probably unfold and develop, but we got to start somewhere, and that's kind of what we're doing.
But I think to answer, Mike, your question, they do call it a unified brand. It is about workers and businesses relocating. And my sense to date is it's been pretty hand in hand with the TDC and the TDO. So it's not being done in a vacuum. That's the important thing.
I just find it interesting, having done work with EDC and with regard to workforce development, where space has been kind of a modifier for the type of industry, which is high tech. Certainly there's aerospace, but that we're trying to attract. So it would just be interesting to me where this really came from, because I know it's not necessarily something that Linda would have hatched herself, but she got pressure from somewhere.
Oh, you know what? I was at the very beginning conversations a couple of years ago.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, and it really was what makes quality of life here great. It was myself and a few other people in early conversations saying, what defines the Space Coast that makes quality of life here? So that was one of the early conversations with Linda. It really was a word map a bunch of us did about literally ask people on Facebook what makes life great.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a symposium.
Yeah, that was
So that was the seed.
that was not the seed, but it was a seed. We mentioned.
Yeah, I was about a year and a half ago, I was at a symposium with a bunch of HR recruiters that the EDC put on, and it was people from, Northrop and L3 and SpaceX and all of that. And they were talking about this worker shortage and these worker problems. And, at that point, so that, I think that was almost 2 years ago. So that was probably right around the same time, you know, Keith, you were talking with them about how do you position us so that we're appealing? Because, I mean, if nobody knows who we are, I mean, how do we appeal with the Research Triangle, for instance, in North Carolina, or Silicon Valley, or what's happening over in Texas at, you know, with all the growth that they're seeing in some of their marketplaces, you know, some of their markets like Houston and others. So, you know, how do we compete with those destinations that are, you know, known probably better than we are? And, you know, maybe we can compete with them if we can tell them what we really have here.
Looking for that word balance.
Okay, well, no, I get some of the background on this because, you know, from my experience in it, a lot of the problem is that we're not a big market. So you got a lot of people entering the workforce or in their 30s and developing families and all that. They want to go someplace where there is big market amenities. And even with our proximity to Orlando, that's why the folks like L3 Harris and Northrop Grumman, pretty much 90% of the advertising they do is for recruitment.
Right.
But I don't know that branding will do anything to move the needle on that because it's just a matter of fact, this is who we are. So if you want a big market to where you can basically come down here and get job security, but if you want to walk across the street, because you want to switch jobs, you can. You know, that's a hard perception to get around.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a challenging ask. It's interesting you mentioned Orlando. One of the things, at least in the internal discussions that came up, was we do have some, you know, bigger amenities because of our proximity to the theme parks and some of the things that Orlando has to offer, you know, basketball, you know, professional basketball, professional soccer. I mean, you know, we don't have that here, but we're close enough that somebody from, you know, from another market, you know, 45 minutes, an hour away, you can get access to those things. So that may be something that we use in the communications as well, because we are a small market. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, we have good schools, but we have, you know, we have a housing shortage. We have, you know, we're facing a lot of the same things that other smaller markets face, you know, and we're trying to grow, but you know, it's just going to take us a while to get there.
Is this an opportunity to maybe even change the county name from Brevard?
I mean, that's a bit more of a political decision that I'll stay out of. But if somebody wants to champion that, Mike, I'll be happy to have that discussion.
All right, thank you for your insights.
Sure, no problem.
We're right at 3 o'clock or a little after. Any comments from the committee before we open to public comments? And I think it's a great idea to keep us, you know, up to date on that unified brand effort. Any public comments? Okay. With that,
Next meeting is April 20th at 2 p.m. It will also be here.
all right. With that we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks all.
Good fun.
Thank
That'll
you.
be fun.
You should come on in when get out to her. We can connect. It's been quite a big effort.
So they scrubbed it.
No, I just rather recycle.
Okay.
I heard something. They recycle.
The window oven is open until 4.